And while we know our homegrown stars this morning, we're meeting a young man who stole the show in the UK's Britain's Got Talent.
What happened to the boy with the voice of an angel? After Simon Cowell told him to dump his partner and the world predicted this would be the end for him, Jonathan Antoine proved them wrong.
How old do you think you were when you realised you had that voice? That wasn't something that everyone has.
Thank you very much for one.
He has evolved beyond the physical transformation, and behind his new look lies a hidden reality that changed everything. Is he still an opera singer, or has he walked away from the stage forever? The boy behind the mask. During the 2012 season premiere of Britain's Got Talent, there was a shy kid in a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt with extraordinary talent. His name was Jonathan Antoine, but that's not where his story started. When he was just 8 years old, he would spend his time listening to opera recordings. Most kids his age were busy playing Nintendo DS and trying to beat as many levels as they could, but Jonathan was different. He would listen to music, not just enjoying it, but absorbing every note and detail. That was how his special gift came to light. After hearing a complex piece just once, he could flawlessly repeat it. He wasn't just a kid with a good ear. This was something rare and unusual. People have wondered if his talent was natural or somehow staged, but the reality is he was functioning at a level scientists call savant syndrome. His brain was wired to remember every note, every breath, and every cue from the orchestra perfectly. It was like he had a built-in hard drive just for classical music. But having a gift like that makes you stand out, and sometimes too much attention can be dangerous. While his mind was a sanctuary for beautiful melodies, his daily life at West Hatch High School was a mess. The very thing that made him a genius made him unable to fit in, and the bullies picked up on that immediately. From the age of 4, he had faced unimaginable peer cruelty. His classmates would throw food at him or mock his weight and appearance. During his rise to fame, media outlets even dubbed him Sue Boy to mock his resemblance to Susan Boyle. These bullies didn't see a future star, they saw someone they could break. His voice that would eventually sell millions of records was the same reason he was hiding in empty classrooms during lunch. As the years flew by, music became more than a hobby. When the world outside became too much to handle, he would retreat into the complex songs he had stored in his head. By October 2011, the pressure finally hit a breaking point. Just months before his big audition, Jonathan had a serious nervous breakdown and had to leave his school because he couldn't handle the stress anymore. When he stood in front of Simon Cowell, he was actually still seeing a psychiatrist to help him recover. He spent his teenage years living in 2 different worlds. In one, he was a loner who barely wanted to leave the house. In the other, he was a musical titan. By the time he was 14, he had won local competitions and earned spots at every major music conservatory in London. He was starting to realize that what his bullies referred to as his weirdness was actually his strength. His time as a lone warrior came to an end when he met a girl who shared the same interests as him. This partnership would take him to a stage where a judge would try to convince him to betray his only friend for a shot at the top. It was a moment that would test his loyalty just as much as his talent. Jonathan and Charlotte both attended West Hatch High School. They actually became partners in 2006 when their vocal coach, Jenny Ewington, played matchmaker. Sensing that Jonathan's powerful operatic tenor and Charlotte's musical theatre style would create something special. They spent years practicing in classrooms and even performed the prayer at their teacher's wedding in 2011. By the time they walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage, they were best friends who had spent half a decade sharing their talent and protecting each other. Their first public performance on Britain's Got Talent in 2012 is considered one of the most legendary auditions in the show's history. They performed the same song they did at their teacher's wedding a year earlier. When they finished their performance, the crowd went wild. Despite this, Simon Cowell, who looked visibly unimpressed the moment they walked on stage and even muttered to his fellow judge Carmen Electra, "Just when you think things couldn't get worse," was deeply moved by Jonathan's operatic verse and even joined the other judges in a standing ovation. He looked straight at Jonathan and told him he had an outstandingly good voice and was a future star, but that he thought it would be best if he dumped Charlotte, explaining that she would hold him back if he truly wanted a real career. It was a classic reality TV moment. Most teenagers would have crumbled under that kind of pressure from a billionaire mogul, especially someone who spent their childhood being bullied. But Jonathan stayed glued to Charlotte's side and defended her and made it clear they were a duo and would stay a duo. That single moment of loyalty made them the nation's sweethearts. People weren't just voting for the singing anymore. They were voting for a guy who refused to sell out his friend for a shortcut to the top. This bond carried them all the way to the finals, where they narrowly lost the crown to the dancing dog act Ashley and Pudsey. Simon Cowell later apologized for his earlier comments during the semi-finals, admitting that staying together was the best decision they could have made because of their unique chemistry. Despite coming in second, they still won a massive $1 million deal with Psycho on their own terms. They sold over 250,000 copies of their first album, proving they could make it through as a duo. But by 2014, rumors started spreading. People noticed they were spending less time together and suspected they had a huge fight. But the truth was that they were simply outgrowing the duo label. They realized that they could keep trying to force their different styles together and might end up resenting each other. Charlotte was leaning toward musical theatre and pop, while Jonathan was pulled toward the heavy, operatic world. Instead of waiting for the friendship to crack under pressure, they decided to go their separate ways. They both signed solo deals with Sony Classical, which allowed them to remain friends while chasing their own dreams. It was a smart move to protect their mental health. Jonathan went from having Charlotte as his safety net to standing on his own for the first time in years. Today, Charlotte is a polished West End star, starring in shows like Heathers. Meanwhile, Jonathan has embraced a long-haired rock and roll look. They were once inseparable. Even after their split, they managed to maintain a friendly relationship, but now they lead completely separate lives and rarely speak. The loyal duo, who once stood against Simon Cowell, ultimately discovered that their paths had grown too different to continue walking together. Jonathan was moving away from the polished world of TV duets and moving toward something different. Fans who thought they knew him were about to discover that the opera singer they loved had a hidden side. The transformation. Jonathan Antoine became very successful as a classical tenor. Despite this, he's a huge fan of heavy metal, especially technical bands like Meshuggah, Tesseract, and Sleep Token. He actually grew up with an interest in both opera and heavy metal music simultaneously. Having been introduced to the metal genre of music in high school by friends, he considers himself more of a metalhead than an opera fan. His house is filled with an impressive collection of instruments that would make any rock star jealous. He owns 6, 7, and even 8 string guitars, along with 2 basses and a ukulele. He even picked up a bouzouki while touring in Greece recently. The most interesting part about his playing is how he learned to. Jonathan, being naturally left-handed, decided to teach himself how to play the guitar right-handed. It says a lot about his personality. He has even teased that he has been writing a heavy metal album for over 14 years. Even though he has the long hair and the music taste of a rebel, Jonathan doesn't actually live the wild life you would expect. He never drinks alcohol. While other performers might be out partying after a big show, Jonathan is more likely to be headed home to his family and his cats. He is also a huge advocate for animal rescue and has adopted several pets from the Battersea Animal Home. When he isn't singing or practicing metal riffs, he is often at his desk building detailed Gundam models, which are plastic model kits of fictional robots from the Japanese franchise, or playing video games. Jonathan's mix of being a metalhead, a gamer, and a homebody shows he stopped trying to fit in a long time ago. He's comfortable being a living paradox, proving you can be a classical artist while still having a closet full of band t-shirts and a collection of heavy metal guitars. He was finally living life on his own terms, but as he grew more comfortable with who he was, he realized his physical body was holding him back from being able to bring more energy to his performances. He knew he needed to make a massive change to keep up with his own ambitions, and the transformation that followed would leave his fans completely speechless. Right from childhood, Jonathan had always struggled with his weight. His first significant weight loss was in 2013 when he joined Weight Watchers and lost over 56 pounds. That was just the beginning. Later in 2022, he got a lot of attention after a public appearance where he looked unrecognizable after swapping his short type hair for a long rock star look. People began whispering about secret weight loss surgeries or extreme crash diets to explain how he dropped 70 pounds. The truth, however, involves a medical breakthrough and a personal source of motivation. For years, Jonathan often used food as a source of comfort because of bullying he faced as a child. While living in America, he got to a terrible stage due to fast food culture and a lack of energy. And in a matter of time, he discovered his body was actually working against him. He later discovered he had an undiagnosed thyroid condition The reason losing weight had been nearly impossible for years. Once he got that under control, the weight finally started to come off. But medicine was only a part of it. He had a mental shift that came from a source of happiness that completely changed his perspective. In 2016, Jonathan connected with a Canadian woman named Michelle Doucet through an online chat, who helped him develop a more positive mindset to become the best version of himself. He credited Michelle with helping him build the confidence to finally focus on his health. Instead of pushing himself with intense workouts that he said would tear him up, he committed to a simple, steady routine of walking 10,000 steps daily. This physical change was just the beginning of his transformation. He was no longer the shy young man who got nervous before a performance. He was actively living life and growing in ways he never imagined. With this new physique, Jonathan wasn't just getting healthier, he was finally bringing together his technical skills and musical talent in a way no one expected. The architect of a new reality. For a long while now, people wondered if Jonathan was drifting away from the opera world. The rumors started when he began talking more about virtual reality and coding than about his upcoming performances. Many asked if he was slowly leaving music behind for a new career in tech. But the truth is, he's not giving up music, he's just growing his reach. Jonathan is the founder and CEO of Atlas XR, a studio focused on pushing the limits of virtual reality. Their flagship project, Atlas Endgames, made waves when it was featured in gaming showcases, proving he is a serious player in the VR development space. This isn't just a side hobby for him. Jonathan is a true gaming polymath who knows the technical side of the industry just as well as the creative part. He's even started taking on professional voice acting roles in video games, using his vocal skills to bring digital characters to life. This move into tech has completely changed how he interacts with his fans, known as the Fantoines. Instead of just formal TV interviews, he engages directly with them through live streams on YouTube and Facebook. During these hangouts, the conversation is just as likely to be about a new metal riff or a VR workshop as it is about his singing. He even expanded into children's media with the Jonathan the Porcupine book series, using the character to teach kids about self-worth and neurodiversity. He's proving he can run his own digital company and still be a top opera singer. His new album in 2026, Speaking to You, includes songs with famous people like Diane Warren, showing he can connect the music world with virtual reality. By creating these new experiences, he's finally able to show who he really is. But this confidence comes from more than just business success. Just as he was reaching this new peak, a major discovery about his own mind changed everything, providing the final piece of the puzzle that explained his entire journey. When Jonathan received his formal autism diagnosis in 2022, right around his 27th birthday, he described it as falling into a daydream. For over a decade, people saw him as the shy, awkward kid with an otherworldly voice. It explained the sensory sensitivities and social difficulties that he faced throughout his school years, linking his genius-level memory directly to how his brain was wired. This discovery started a new mission for Jonathan. He didn't just want to understand himself better, but he also wanted to help other kids who felt like outsiders. That was what inspired him to write Jonathan the Porcupine. It was his way of reaching back to heal his younger self while giving parents and teachers a tool to talk about bullying and neurodiversity. He became a powerful voice for those who often went unheard, telling them that being different can actually be their greatest strength if they learn how to embrace it. Jonathan's impact goes far beyond books and music. In 2021, he was honored with the title of Chevalier, Knight of the Order of St. George, marking a new level of recognition for his charitable efforts. For years, he's used his incredible talent to raise money for important causes like the Katie Holmes Trust, which supports research on pediatric brain tumors. Balancing his career as a world-class tenor with his role as a modern-day knight, he shows that his compassion is just as powerful as his voice. With this sense of peace and clarity, Jonathan is ready for his most ambitious era yet. With a new understanding of his mind and a body that finally feels like his own, Jonathan is stepping into 2026 with bold new sounds and a documentary that promises to pull back the curtain even further. But as he prepares to release his most personal music to date, new questions have started to circulate in the industry. Has he finally outgrown the classical tenor? He's stepping onto a stage that connects the old theatres of Europe with the modern studios of Hollywood, and people are curious to see which side of Jonathan comes through. By the start of 2026, the music industry began to notice a major change in the way Jonathan was presenting himself. He has moved from wearing formal tuxedos, that is the traditional classical style, to a more authentic contemporary music style and rock star aesthetic, which reflects the man who loves heavy metal and virtual reality. On his 31st birthday in January 2026, he released a new version of the song All of Me. This surprised many of his longtime fans because it wasn't the usual operatic voice they were used to hearing. Instead, he released a smooth and refined track that revealed a much more personal and heartfelt side of his singing. This version quickly got a lot of people talking online, with many fans wondering if this marked the end of his classical career and the very world that first brought him fame and recognition. The truth is that this new music is actually a personal promise. The heart of this era is actually a tribute to his late manager and mentor, Omar Karis, who passed away in 2023. Omar was the one who discovered Jonathan's solo potential and helped him navigate his most difficult transitions. Jonathan has revealed that his upcoming album, Speaking to You, set to release on March 27, 2026, serves as a final dialogue with Omar. He's bringing to life a vision they shared years ago, transforming his grief into a connection between his past and what lies ahead. While he is exploring these emotional new sounds, his status as an international icon is only getting stronger. He has moved his work into top-tier studios across both Los Angeles and London, working with legends to create a sound he calls the era of new sincerity. He has even been releasing special acoustic sessions from the legendary Angel Recording Studios to show the genuine beauty of his new direction. Whether he is recording a pop crossover track or scoring a film in his home studio, he is playing by his own rules, having spent over a decade under the scrutiny of the public eye. He went from a shy teenager facing a nervous breakdown to a confident CEO, author, and world-class performer who is finally at peace with himself. He stopped trying to meet everyone else's expectations and started living for his own truth. This new era isn't about leaving anything behind. It is about finally bringing all the different pieces of his life together into one alternate story. The boy from the audition stage has now become the master of his own destiny. Jonathan Antoine has redefined what it means to be a classical star. By embracing his identity as a tech innovator and being a voice for the neurodivergent community, he shows that you can unlock your true potential once you stop trying to fit in and be yourself. His story is all about self-reinvention. Do you think more artists should follow his lead, or is there a limit to how far an artist should go? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, click on the next video on your screen, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.